Welcome, everyone. This is the Greenfield Public Schools Budget and Finance Subcommittee meeting, Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts, March 29, 2023, order extending certain provisions of Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, Section 20. For Open Meeting Law, any member of the public may make an audio or video recording of this meeting. And let's do a roll call. Susan Ekstrom, I am here. Kate Martini, are you here?
Here I am.
Glenn Johnson-Musad is not here, but we do have a quorum. So if anyone is here for public comment, speak now or not. Not seeing anyone, let's go right into number 3 on our agenda, rising to the top with a blast, discuss capital.
All right. I submitted 2 capital requests because the date came, so I submitted them. 2 variations on repairs of the Federal Street School elevator. One, so just in case you don't know, which you might not, prior to my arrival, there was a capital request for repairs to the elevator, and the city allocated, Andy, you can correct me, I'm going to estimate about $150,000. But at that time, I believe Judy was acting and the decision was made to go out for a study on the elevators. Some of the funding paid for that study, which we do have. Stay tuned for second request. So we still have about $100,000 in capital allocated for Federal Street School elevators. Recently, the North Tower elevator was closed because it didn't work. So we got a repair estimate from United Elevator. It was about $150,000. That did not include any electrical that may need to be done to reconnect fire safety systems, telephone systems, yada, yada, yada. So I did a capital request where I added on the cost, an estimated cost of going out for design. Andy, fill in the blank. I can never remember that name. Thank you. Yeah, designer selection because of the cost of the project. Andy can explain why we need to go out for designer selection. And then I added on a flat, maybe $4,000 or $5,000 estimated for any additional electrical, emergency telephone hookup, et cetera, et cetera. Then I subtracted the amount that we still had allocated for capital, and that was the amount that I submitted for one capital project. The second capital project was replacement of both elevators. That's about $1.5 million. The estimate was 1.3 when the report that Judy contracted for, I would say summer or fall of 21, right before I started. We did get that report early December last year, but it was after the capital requests were due. So I submitted that report along with a capital request for replacement of both elevators, which, like I said, I think I estimated at 1.5 given, increase. So both of those have been submitted. We still have outstanding projects. Paving at Federal Street had been approved a number of years ago, but by the time the DPW had the ability to do the project, instead of it being $75,000, now it is about $200,000. So instead of paving the 2x2 foot square, we're on hold with that. There are some other projects, some fencing. I'm trying to think, Andy. I apologize, Kate, Susan. I had to see a doctor for an urgent care visit this morning, so I'm in the car. I don't have the whole capital update in front of me, but So there are a few sort of dangling participle capital projects from years ago. We're going to ask the city to let us use fencing money from one school because we don't need the fence anymore. Like it's complete. We still have remaining funds, but we need to do some fencing at Four Corners. So I'm going to request a reallocation. It's the same type of project. It's just different school.
We have to get city council to agree to that, right?
I don't know because it's elementary school fencing. I don't know. I had to provide an update to the city on the status of our current, all the funded projects. So I put a note that I was going to request reallocation to a different fencing project.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And where did you say the second elevator was? I know the first one was at Federal. Was it a second one at Federal or both of them at Federal?
North Tower and South Tower. Just in case you guys don't know, the towers do not connect at the upper floors.
Yeah.
So our south elevator is running, but the north is not, meaning anyone with mobility limitations really can't access anything at Federal for the north side once you go into the door. Even the main office is upstairs.
Yeah.
So
how does it go from 150,000 to 1.5 million?
Because the 150,000 is repair. 1.5 million is replacing two.
Okay.
I would just clarify that the 150 we weren't necessarily. That was even before I think everybody here. We don't even know, like, because what ended up happening was when we were starting to tackle that, when Judy was interim, I had reached out to the consulting firm that did the study and came up with a proposal, and then I shared it with Judy and at the time George Vandelever. And George told me, whoa, wait a second here. This was not, I don't even think they when it was allocated to the school was 150, thought that would even address. And I think they were just really thinking it was the Band-Aid for, not knowing quite honestly what the Band-Aid would even be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going solely on the review of the system by United Elevator. They came on site when it pooped out. We've spent about $8,000 on repairs to that elevator in, I'd say, about the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's the original elevator. I want to say it was installed in 1991, if my memory is correct. So it's definitely aged. The NV5 report, that's what was used for the 1.5 million replacement, basically said there's, components need to be replaced. There's elements to the entire elevator system that are underground. The parts that are underground, based on the age of the equipment, they don't necessarily believe that it was treated to be underground, so they're not sure the state of the components that are under the ground. So, the replacement of both elevators is certainly could be even more costly than 1.5.
So what are we doing in the meantime?
Hoping like heck we're going to get the capital request for the 150,000 so United Elevator can repair, based on what they know, repair the north side elevator.
Right.
But they're telling, so this is the issue. We have to go out for designer selection. Then he comes, does the assessment, creates the bid specs. Then we go out to bid. If it was United Elevator that was doing the project, they said to us it would probably take 6 weeks because they have to order parts. So we're looking at months before that elevator gets fixed.
So I'll ask a stupid question. In the meantime, do we get one of the chair lifts on the stairs?
Well, that would only get people the 4 steps up to the office.
To do all of the stairs. I mean, that would mean
I couldn't. Oh, you mean the little electric thing?
Yes,
that
that's
goes
what I mean.
Up the railing?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know.
I don't know either. I'm asking the question. I mean, we can't have buildings like this.
I don't know.
And it's been like this for a
Well,
while, you know?
Don't disagree. I know there's discussion about, we should try to get a new elementary school. I'm not saying we shouldn't. We should. I'm just saying I don't like the committee at some point will have to decide if you want to like push forward the 1.5 million replacement or if you want to not. Like I don't know, but I know short term we have half of Federal Street that's not accessible,
Right.
which at some point is going to create a problem.
Yeah.
What was the amount? What was the amount of the actual capital request of the first piece for the replacement? You said you deducted what was previously.
Yes. Sorry, Andy, is it possible? Can you access that? Just.
He's looking.
Yes, that's fine.
You want the most recent request that we made, or
yes, the request that I just submitted in November for the update. I think I named them, I thought, clearly enough, but who knows?
Yep.
Okay, while Andy's looking, I'm going to guess it's pretty close to that 150, only because with the adding and then subtracting, there wasn't as much subtracting as adding.
Yeah.
Okay.
The total request was 1,307,000.
No, not that one. The other one.
The first one, just for the repair.
Oh,
it should just be the other one in that same folder. The other interesting treat with the elevator, if in fact United ends up doing the work, they declined to have their workmen fingerprinted. So one of our staff would have to stay with them the entire time that they're on site. We literally would be paying someone to stand there and watch them.
Well, look, by the time this gets started, I will no longer be on school committee, and I am a site safety person. So
we buy you a box of Joe, Susan, and you just stick it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm going to do all weekend.
You know what? Kate, I'll take her. She can just park it there and watch them.
AKA play solitaire on my phone.
There you go. Did you find it, Andy?
I'm looking at, is it just the north elevator repair?
Yeah. Yeah.
$75,000.
75.
Yeah.
That was the request?
That was the request because we already have 100 or maybe just over 100,000 still from a prior allocation.
Right.
Right. So if the 75 is approved, is it feasible that this repair project would be able to take place before school year 24?
Yes. we would just have to go out for designer selection. Then once the designer is identified, they would come out, do the assessment, create the bid specs. We'd have to post that bid for the repairs. Then whoever's awarded the bid would have to order the equipment. So
Just a clarifying point, if we're only talking 75 grand, there may be a state contract, since it's such a low dollar threshold, where we wouldn't need to do that.
but Andy, the full project would be 150.
But even
We
so,
just need-
we would just have to look and see, I guess I'd say.
Yep,
because,
that's
you know,
fine.
but
So there's potential.
there's potential, right?
Okay. So either way, work could take place, say, next summer.
I would hope, quite
that-
frankly, it's well before that.
Okay.
I would never want to guarantee or even hazard a guess in this industry regarding when it is that vendors say they can and can't come out, and we still get told things of, delivery delays of equipment for all the reasons that we've still hearing from, we'll say the COVID days.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed. I mean, let's be optimistic.
It's it's unfortunate that something like elevators do not fall under any of the types of work that the SBA might assist with.
We would not want the SBA, because that process would be even longer.
Takes a long time.
It would be absolutely, yeah. Add another year, quite honestly, onto it.
So that's capital.
That's great.
Well, and just so that both of you know, in addition to those that were submitted to the city, we need to buy a truck because we have 2 plow trucks. One of them was taken off the road by DPW because of the body condition. So the only truck we have left is not heavy enough to hold our sander. So now we have 1 plow truck, no sander. We supplement the DPW's cleaning of the parking lots. Their equipment is big. Oftentimes the parking spots are not able to be cleared as much as they should for our staff. So we're looking, Andy is on the hunt for, it would be a 3/4 ton truck that would be of appropriate weight to hold the plow and the sander. So we're dealing with that. Jake needs to replace one of his vans.
Which van?
I don't know which one of them, one of the little bus vans.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with that stuff. We're not looking to use capital funds for that. I mean, Andy and I've talked, we have the ability to just purchase, but there's still some procurement stuff. And quite frankly, we have to find a truck. We have to locate it.
Okay.
Anything else on capital?
Not
Andy, anything Christine's not thinking of? No. Okay. All right. So moving on from capital, FY25 budget prep. Kate, I put this on here because at this point there isn't a whole lot of action going on towards the new budget, but I wanted you to hear what the process is. I know that you've heard it before, but I thought it'd be helpful for us to hear it here so that you could ask some questions. Just, this may be my last budget meeting, and there should be someone who has at least heard the process in this space, it seemed to me. So anyway, anyone want to take it away?
Well, all right. So the first thing, one of the things that we will do is Andy and I will look at the city's budget calendar and kind of go backwards and try to set an anticipated date for the school committee budget hearing. Just so you know, Kate, that'll be coming shortly, projected date. Then what we do is just begin at the beginning. We'll sit, Karen and Andy and I will sit with Barry. We'll go through all the staff, make sure anybody who isn't with us is off the list, anybody who's joined us is on, and then in the fairly near future, we will, quotation marks, roll the staff for FY25, build in any contractual increases, start there. Then we will start meeting, department heads will be told to ask all of their staff, send the list of what I call the gotta haves, anything that is required for them to function. Examples of that would be food for the culinary program, clay for art, things like that. So we build site-based requests. From that, we sit with each
I cannot hear Christine.
Yes.
I can't.
We sit with each administrator and go through their requests, verifying, we'll say, reasonableness needs, and then talk potentially about funding sources at a later time with Karen, Christine. Once we start to get an idea of potentially funds available, whether it be grants or revolving accounts we have, and or if we start to hear from the city as to any idea. But we do go forward with our, we'll say, the needs-based budget to determine what the needs are and present that. And then the deliberations begin.
And ESSER funding runs out shortly? Or expires, I should say.
Is it December of 24 or in September of 24?
Okay.
September. I think
September.
you have to have it encumbered by.
Right.
And is there any indication that the state is gonna, I don't know, any out of the ordinary allocation of funds will be given to school districts?
Too early to tell. Nothing.
All right. And do we have, just based on your experience, Andy, what would you think it would be falling or somewhere?
Well, what would be?
Where do you think, what would you expect the budget would be falling into? Based on your experience, this isn't going to be a hard number by any means, but
Oh God,
ballpark.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess, honestly. I mean, it would, because we're talking about reviewing, what we had been using our grants for, the ESSA grants, to see as far as anything potentially personnel related, although we've been dialing that back as to whether or not those are going to be, kept. So, I mean,
Yeah.
do I even hazard a guess? I'll shoot high and say 10%, but again,
Yeah.
don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
So
But we've been pretty
that might not
good.
even be, quite honestly, that might not even be high.
Yeah. But we've been good about not using the ESSER funds for personnel for the most part. I mean, we've had to in some cases, but and last year we had planned to, but then we switched it over to one-time expenses, so that changed the view a little bit. So okay. What things does the committee need to be aware of that could be, that you are concerned about, or that you and Christine and Karen are concerned about?
City allocation.
Well, yeah.
Because quite all kidding aside, quite honestly, everything that we control, our grants, the revolving accounts to some extent, the administrators do a very good job.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to what is that number that we're going to get from the city.
Yeah, and I'm hearing some rumbling, but not enough that I'd want to say it out loud. It's so interesting to me that during election season, everyone thinks the schools are so important. And then when it comes to budget season, suddenly they're not quite as prioritized as could be. So, anecdotally, I say that. Kate, you must have questions or not.
I was actually, no, I'll save that for later. I do not have a question.
Okay. Christine, your thoughts?
I'm trying to get into the building. Hold on. I think that, just to be clear, we did put a lot of one-time funds into ESER 3, but some of that stuff still needs to be reincorporated into the budget, like field transportation, some extracurricular.
Some of the field trip costs, some extracurricular costs for stipends were put in there. So it's not as if those funds aren't needed moving forward.
Can't hear a blessed thing, Christine. Sorry.
I'm trying to get on my computer. I don't know why I can't, no one can hear me.
Now I can hear you.
So there are also a few staff positions in ESER 3 that, we'll have to consider if it's something that we want to continue in the local, or if the district is in a place to move forward without. The other huge impact, the middle school really needs to move to full year science and social studies. To do that, we need to add 6 staff. So the issue of making a decision about the redistricting will have a pretty significant impact on the budget request, because if the decision is to wait. Now, I know the question had come up about letting all of our intra-district choice kids sort of age out of their choice school. If that decision is what's voted by the school committee, that will take 6 years, because we have kindergartners. So by the time they age out into what would be grade 6 at the middle school, that would be 6 years. So I would not suggest we wait 6 years to add full year science and social studies to the middle school. So, oops, hold on, I'm logging in. The decision would need to be, do we add full year science and social studies now? Do you wait? Although MCAS is becoming relevant for our 8th grade with civics, we need to consider the impact of all of those changes with the redistricting. If the decision is to do it now and we reduce elementary positions, that will be part of offsetting the cost of the additional middle school staff. Or if the decision is to let the students age out, then the committee would also need to think about, are we going to wait to add full year science and social studies to the middle school? So, I mean, there's a pretty big swing in there from a staffing perspective. So that's part of why I had encouraged the committee not to wait too long to make a decision. But worst case, if a decision is not made in December, my approach would be to build the budget as if there was not going to be redistricting at this point, and to add the 6 staff. That would just be the superintendent's budget. That obviously the committee could do whatever it felt with it, but that would be my intention, is to, I have to build the budget.
So we kept talking about there might be a cliff in the 25 budget that we were going to have to deal with. Do you feel like that's still the case?
Yes, but I think because we moved, I mean, Andy, you interject here. I think because we were able to move most of the staff out of the grant, we might not have a huge cliff off which we will plummet. But it's certainly not a not noticeable slope. There's going to be some impact, like I said, and I think Karen filled in. There are some things that are part of the grant that we'll need to think about. Do we need to continue having, or are we in a place to let them go? And those decisions help us determine whether it's a pretty significant fall or not. I mean, if we keep everything, the request goes up, and then, we have to see what the mayor and city council do, or do we cut it ourselves on the front end? Not tons of options there, but I'll come to you with a recommendation.
Well, I've said this every year I've been on school committee. My preference is always to go to the city and say, this is what we need, behind the scenes, knowing that we're not going to get that. Because I think it's really important that the community understands what it costs to educate children. And by lowballing ourselves at the city level, no one ever learns that. And then when the number keeps getting larger, they're like, well, why didn't we know this? And well, that's because we've been lowballing ourselves. So I will leave that in all of your capable hands as I watch the budget happen from the sidelines. Love you, Mina.
I don't know. Andy, do you have a different perspective on the cliff versus the slope?
Nope.
And so if we, just from a budgetary standpoint, if we did not redistrict, we'd have to hire X number of new teachers at the middle school.
Well, that would be my recommendation.
Right.
Because of curriculum changes, standards changes, the pilot of the civics, Karen, for MCAS. So, we don't have to go to full year, but then once civics, MCAS is a required subject, I would expect there would be some impact on our students' performance. So, it's kind of picking our poison to this at this stage.
And just redistricting in general, in the fashion that we've been discussing, with grades moving, things like that, that has less or more impact.
It has more positive impact financially, because whether we do choice, stop choice, or continue with intra-district choice, there's still a reduction in the number of elementary school positions. There's still a change. If the 8th grade goes to the middle school, there's still some shifts with teachers at the high school. So there would be some, but we would still have a budgetary increase to add. Like the numbers of staff we would decrease
Sure.
would not offset the numbers of staff increased at the middle school.
Okay.
And I say all of this stuff as expected, anticipated, projected, estimated, you know.
Of course. Of course. Okay.
Kate, any thoughts?
I have a question, but it's unrelated to the current topic. So when we're done with this one, then I'll ask you my question.
I'm done if you guys are done.
I'm done.
Okay. I just had one unrelated question, as I said. So recently, I understand there was a supplemental budget that was passed. And there's $75 million of funds in it for school districts impacted by the special education tuition rate increase. And I just wondered whether Greenfield is going to see any of that or no.
Well, Andy, I'm going to let you take it because Kate, Andy, and I were actually talking about this exact thing yesterday.
We don't know yet as to whether or not they're gonna put it through the circuit breaker formula calculation, or if it's gonna be through the circuit breaker extraordinary relief, which if I heard that it would be through the extraordinary relief, which means that the cost, you know, there is a higher threshold of 125% greater than your current tuition cost that would have to be reached in order to be available, make yourself available to it. So
Doesn't that negate the point of it, really?
it's yeah, you know, so
Okay.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's, you know, they're gonna allocate it through the circuit breaker and just we're all gonna, in a sense, apply with that 75 million available and get whatever it is each district's prorated amount of the current circuit breaker available funds would be. So let's fingers crossed that it's the first one, not the extraordinary relief.
Right. When would you anticipate that decision would be made?
Have no idea as to how the wheels of Boston quickly move. I would anticipate come spring, the earliest. That's when they, you know, I'm just, again, thinking along lines like this, extraordinary relief, that's the window for that. So, you know, they could be looking at, you know, I'm going to say a two-pronged approach of these funds along with what they normally allocate for extraordinary relief and doing it all at the same time. Because even when you do, I'm just not sure as far as the technical side of things, because when you do extraordinary relief, you have to use the circuit breaker workbook that they use for claiming your normal circuit breaker request. So there's, you know, I don't know how many workbooks they're going to end up having to create to keep track of between extraordinary relief, normal circuit breaker, and adjustments to circuit breaker, as well as this 75 million if they go, fingers crossed, an additional appropriation, because you would still have to go through and claim your request.
Okay,
But
thank you.
outside of that, easy peasy.
Yeah, that's all.
I just, you know, add that money into the overall circuit breaker funds, lower the threshold for the year. There you go. All set, done and done.
Oh, Susan.
I know.
Only
That just is too easy, right? Silly,
You have
silly
the
girl.
you have the ability to project about how much will be requested in the Medicaid reimbursement this year?
Oh, no, because that all varies based on the actual special education related expenses and all the eligible requests that or eligible expenses that would fall under that. Plus it's, I want to say maybe 2 years in arrears that we get reimbursed for as far as the process of getting that reimbursement. And then also the LPVEC that works with us, they'll do like a preliminary audit to make sure that everything that we are claiming are eligible expenses or not. So it's been about 200 grand. If you look at the history of what we've received over the past 3 years, it's been about 200, between 200, 210. So
When will you have a better idea of how much the next one will be?
that is all based on the LPVEC's claim filing, and we won't know that, as far as, I mean, it's been sometimes middle of the spring. Like last year was about that time when we were able to talk and negotiate with the mayor about getting that additional appropriation allocated to us.
Okay, thank you.
However, there are
That's
less
my left field questions.
there are less and less things that are being accepted as reimbursable, though, is my understanding. Have you noticed that to be true, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say there used to be, they've raised the bar on, I guess I'd say, in particular on the personnel side of things regarding licensure required for the therapeutic services that are reimbursable. And so, I'm just thinking about in one of our other districts, they used to claim people that had one form of certification and then were told that they actually had to have another certification from the state in order for it to be eligible. That was a few years ago that changed. So that's, other than that, I mean, it's a cottage industry, I'd say, as far as, going after these funds. So that, you've seen there have been some, I've read some articles about districts that have gone through and had an audit done of their Medicaid and have had to, quote unquote, reimburse the government back for, I'm going to say, inaccurate claims filed versus, as it's never the other way around of saying, oh, you should have gotten more, here you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call. Cameron Ekstrom, yes. I vote we adjourn. Member Martini?
Susan Ekstrom.
Sorry.
Yeah, is Cameron here? I don't know.
No, that's my actual last name is Cameron Ekstrom, and I went home and everyone calls me Cameron there, so I've been struggling. Anyway, yeah. So Kate, motion to adjourn, yes.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.